Okay, this is going to be a really fun, interesting topic for all of us to explore because men do test women. They test women in order to find out if this is the right match for him to move forward and go into a committed relationship, into a beautiful partnership, or maybe not. Now, you might be like, oh my God, like, why do men do this? This is not okay, and whatever, whatever. But the reality is this: you do the same thing. All women do the same thing. And it starts with these kind of superficial attributes of like height and, stature. And it goes on with like confidence to charisma to, financial resources that are available, emotional safety and security, all of these things. All of you ladies, you're going to assess that man if he fits into the bracket of the type of future husband, future partner, future father of your kids, if he fits into that bracket. Now, with all that said, and I think this is perfectly fine, you should do it. It's really, really important because you don't want to end up with someone where you haven't done this vetting process and then you realize there's a bunch of things where we actually don't match with each other. So I encourage you to test, to assess, to vet a man that you're considering to jump into a serious relationship and a committed relationship with. Even if it's not a serious relationship, you should still do it. However, with all that said, men do the same thing. Men have their own tests, their own ways how to figure out if this man is the right one. And the reality is this: just asking you about these things is not necessarily going to do it. Because if a man asks very specific questions, yes, she will answer it. But he doesn't necessarily know just based on her answer, because it's just words that are coming out of the mouth. Who knows if this is backed up by action? Who knows if this person is really believing in what she said or in what he said? We don't know this for sure. So sometimes that assessment needs to happen in other ways. And this is exactly what I want to discuss here today. So I'm going to give you 7 sneaky tests that you might not even know that he does them, but they will help him a lot in order to identify and assess and test if you're the right match for him. And if you pass the test in the best way possible, then obviously there's a lot of obstacles that have been taken away from you right now in this moment, because you've already put yourself in a position that he could commit to you. The first test is the loyalty/respect test. So what does it look like? A man, they will constantly test and observe in how committed are you actually to him and his purpose and his dreams and desires and achievements and the things that he's going for. How loyal are you to this relationship? How loyal have you been in the past? How loyal are you to your friends? And are you a full supporter and a cheerleader for that man? Basically, are you going to have his back? That's really what it's all about. He's going to test and observe in all different kinds of ways if you're going to have his back. Not just when the two of you together, but actually when you're in public and, maybe he was wearing the wrong shirt and you told him like, hey, look, we're going to, more of a fine dining dinner thing, and he kind of put on the wrong things. And then others might make some comments, friends and fans, they're cheeky, they're a little bit provoking and sarcastic or whatever. Like, are you going to jump in and do the same? Or are you going to have his back? All of these different things are going to be assessed by him, and he makes mental notes. So the second test is the lifestyle test. The lifestyle test is pretty straightforward, actually. He's going to look. Yes, you want him to plan things. Yes, you want him to organize things and kind of like take the lead in many ways. But with all that said, he's still going to assess and check, like, what kind of lifestyle do you live? Do you prefer to go out every Friday and Saturday, like, have kind of chill time at work, or maybe you're super busy from Monday to Friday, and then during the weekends you just want to go out with the ladies and like go party and do a bunch of other things? Or do you live more of a lifestyle of like, I want to live a bit more of a healthy lifestyle? On a Sunday morning you want to go to yoga and then like go for a long big brunch with your closest friends, and so therefore you won't go out on a Saturday or on a Friday, because those long nights, they take away the next beautiful day for you, and your priorities are just different. So he's gonna look, are you gonna shop a lot and is something super super important to you? Or are you more into be active, or to go into museums, to do some culture and go to concerts or whatever? Like, he's gonna check and look, What's the lifestyle? What priorities do you have? And how much does your life really align with his trajectory and what he's looking for in terms of the life that he wants to create with a partner? The third one is one that I personally actually really like, and I call it the corner test, like pushing and putting someone into a corner and see how they react. And I don't necessarily mean literally pushing her into the corner, but even that, with the right energy and the right flirty type of sexual tension that's already there, you could do that. If we want to move away from that very specific example, what the corner test really is, sometimes you want to heighten the intensity of a situation just a little bit, and maybe a little bit more, because what happens, you're going to see exactly what kind of woman I have in front of me then. Does she get super nervous? Is she very open and comfortable and confident in like holding that intensity and that, you know, the exchange of energy that's between the two of you? Is she going to be able to keep herself together, or does she get super nervous? Is she going to shut down? Is she, you know, maybe even pushing back a little bit? Like there's so much that you can explore when you increase the intensity and the heat in the moment. Why? Because when the intensity is high, people lose their masks. The real face comes out. The real you will be exposed so much more than if you have full control about everything and anything that happens in your life at all times. So if I want to see a little bit more of you, I might increase the intensity a little bit and turn up the heat. How could that look like? It could even be, you know, being out with friends and then you just go very close into her intimate space. And there are these different spaces and these different, and when I say intimate space, I mean they're just going very close to her face and whispering something in the ear. And maybe something that has a little bit of a double meaning, or maybe something that's a little bit more cheeky or whatever. But based on her reaction or how much can she hold eye contact, all of these things in small little subtle things can tremendously increase the intensity. And that can be a lot of fun. That can be used in a very flirty, positive way. And yet it will definitely help you as a man to assess how open, how comfortable is she with me, how much does she allow me to get into her space without actually me like crossing a boundary. So there's a bunch of different tests that we use in order to figure out like, okay, how far can we go here?
Which brings me to today's sponsor. If you're stuck, lost, or confused when it comes to your relationship with men and you don't know how to communicate your needs to him in a way that makes you feel seen, loved, and heard, then you must see this. Since every woman's personality and circumstance is so unique and so special to you, we have a free relationship assessment quiz that you can take in the link below. That quiz will give you a customizable action plan to give you the love that you deserve, because you're worthy of it and you do deserve it so much. So take our free relationship assessment quiz right now, and now back to the video.
The fourth one is the jealousy test. And this is a test I think is so stupid and really doesn't speak for a high quality man. And it doesn't make any sense, but unfortunately, there's still quite a few men that use that type of jealousy test to figure out a couple things about you. So let me explain how that's going to look like. He's literally in front of your eyes going to flirt with other women to see how you're reacting, responding to this. He wants to figure out, it's like, okay, if I'm going to flirt with this lady, is she going to get jealous? How much is she going to get jealous? Does she become totally irrational? Is it a thing of, okay, this becomes really a problem, or like, wow, this is like, she really likes me, she really adores me, so therefore she's getting jealous. I don't know if I want to sign up to this. Or is she like not fazed by it? She doesn't really care, do what she wants. She just walks away, does her own thing, you know, whatever. Then what that could also mean to this man is, oh, she doesn't really care at all. I'm not that important to you. And I think all of these kind of conclusions do not make any sense. A good quality man, he would never play these games. Testing is one thing. Playing stupid games where you actually very intentionally create a possibility that this other woman is the partner, the person that you're seeing, is going to get hurt, is going to feel in pain. Her nervous system is getting like very uncomfortable to the degree that like she doesn't feel safe anymore. Like, that's not cool. Why would she do that? That doesn't make any sense to me. However, the way how I can see that jealousy tests actually work is under those kind of circumstances. Let's say the man is, very charismatic, open, confident, kind of a little bit flirty, always cheeky, and like he has a big smile on his face all the time. And all of these traits that I just given you are going to be interpreted by other women and by other men as like, that's a very flirty person. And in some ways it's true. And yet in another way, it's like, that's just who he is. It has always been this way. So if his actions and behaviors haven't changed from the moment you have met that man to now, even months or years later, and it's always the same, then let's say we use me. And if I'm going to other women and I'm just like in the same charismatic, fun, playful kind of way with them, then that's not flirting. That's just me staying in alignment with who I am. That's the way how you met me, that's the way how we fell in love, and that's the way how I still keep staying in touch with that authentic truth of who I am, right? And that's good. So if now all of a sudden she becomes very irrational and jealous about this, then this is something that I will definitely pay attention to. On the flip side of things, if I'm changing my behaviors and I've never been that open and that playful and that cheeky or whatever with other women or friends of mine, not strangers, then surely there's a reason for her to be jealous, right? There's a reason for her. It's like, what's going on? This is a complete change of pattern. This is a complete change of like who he is and how he has acted and behaved before. So that's clearly something where she could have some sort of objection about this. And I totally get this. Now, how are you going to bring that up? That's a good question. And I think in the moment, you never really want to bring this up because that's just going to create more intensity in the moment, which doesn't really help. And on top of it, you're in public. So what you actually want to do in this moment, you want to stay quiet. You don't want to pay too much attention to it. You pay more attention to your own internal system of like what's really going on here. And then later on, let's say I am a good dude and I haven't changed my behaviors. It has always been the same. And still, for some reason, she got a little bit more jealous. And then she brings it up and she says like, you know what? I just wanted to let you know, like the other day or earlier today when you were talking to this woman, and I know you really haven't done anything wrong, like you've always been that way, but I felt jealous. I felt like for some reason I felt not safe with myself, not safe with you. There was something up and I can't really quite pinpoint what it is, but I just wanted to let you know so we can have that open conversation. I just want to be truthful and honest with you. This is what was going on inside of me. And I'm taking responsibility. Those are my feelings, and I can acknowledge you haven't really done anything wrong. And yet still this was a thing. Now, a good quality man, the way how he would respond to this is like, one, he wants to hear, he wants to understand, he wants to help her to like, okay, let's figure out where this is actually coming from. Because maybe he identified, you know what? Maybe there was a little bit more of a flirty thing than the way how I used to do it, because she was very flirty and then things just got in, like, who knows? Or it's like, okay, for some reason we don't have that trust and faith in each other and safety in each other, so let's focus on that. So I might just create a little bit more distance towards other women because you're my priority, right? But if I had acted completely different and she brings it up, then clearly there's something has like, hey, look, I know what was going on inside of me. I didn't feel safe. I felt very jealous. And the reason why I felt jealous is because the interaction that you had with this woman, and I didn't want to bring that up in the moment because I want to keep our sacred union still alive, and this is nothing for the public, but it kind of like crossed a couple of lines for me. And I wanted to bring this up because it didn't make me feel good. And I don't want this to happen again. And I'm bringing this up to you because I would like to hear your opinion and your viewpoint on the whole thing too, and what you felt and what was going on inside of you, and if you have noticed, or once I just said all these things, what did you actually hear? That's a solid way of communicating about boundaries, about emotions and feelings, and about finding a conclusion. How do you want to forward from this? So yeah, even though the jealousy test is a stupid test, if done intentionally, kind of like to hurt other people, to see how they're responding and reacting to it, then I'm not a fan of it. That's a stupid game. But if things just happen in the moment and the way how someone reacts to it, if she's like overly jealous for no reason, you just met this woman, you just have a bunch of other friends around you and you're just having normal conversations and she gets insanely triggered by it, then that's definitely kind of a red flag for most men, because that means, oh my God, I cannot be myself. There's a problem because there's probably gonna a bunch of drama that's gonna come my way, and men are not interested in that. So pay attention to the way how you're responding and reacting. If you get jealous in the moment, what's really happening inside of you, and then later on find the right way to address it with your partner. The fifth one is a very, very important one. It's the sex test. You know, the same way how I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of women, they test men, the same way men do the opposite as well. What that means when we're testing each other is like we're literally putting someone in specific categories, right? You have that with a friend zone. There's a lot of men that are good men, they're nice, then maybe you might not be as attracted to them for something serious, or there's some other things that are missing for you to potentially wanting to explore something more like that. So you put him in a friend zone. Good dude, great friend, a little bit on distant, not emotionally or physically, intimately someone that you want to explore anything further. And that hurts for many men. Now, the same way how you have the friend zone, men do have the sex zone. And when I say sex test, what I mean is, you know, men are going to test how quickly are you going to allow them to have sex with you. Now, pay attention to my words. The question is, the test is how quickly, how fast do you allow them to have sex with you? Not the other way around, how fast they can have sex with you. That's very, very different. A man that is conscious about like using that test, he's like, it's her worth, it's her body. She doesn't really know me. Definitely not on the first date, definitely not on a second date. And yet she already allows me to go into the most intimate, sacred space with her. This is something he will pay attention to. And the reason why this is so important, because the question that he's going to ask himself is like, well, if I'm able to have sex with her on the first night, on the first date, second date, or super, super early, then how many more times has this happened before me with other men? How often, how quickly, how easy it is it for other men, including me, to get into that intimate space with her? And you might not like to hear this, but if a good quality man is going to be able and capable to have sex with you on the first night, what very often happens is like he will put you into the sex zone. It's like, yes, he's going to go out on more dates with you. Yes, he's going to have more sex and intimacy with you, and he's going to explore this, and you might have a good time, and there's some romance and whatever. But because of that low level of access, there's not many walls that needed to be climbed, not many hills to hiked, and that what that creates is for him is the type of woman that I'm looking for, the type of mother of my children, the type of wife that I'm looking for. She wouldn't allow me to have sex with her so early. She really wants to get to know me. There's a level of self-respect and self-worth that she puts on herself and her body that a man is not going to get access to very quickly, very easy. Regardless of the heightened emotions and the passion and the intensity, there's a level of control, of self-control that she has. And she also expects from that man that she wants to be with that this is not happening on the first night. And this is a really, really important one. And this is like a black and white for many men. If this is happening, the other thing is probably not happening. If she's in the sex zone, it's very difficult for her to get out of it and get into like maybe wifey material type, you know, let's explore a committed relationship type zone. The same way how it is for someone that you put into a friend zone, it's very, very challenging for him to get out of it, and maybe you want to explore something more intimately with him, right? So we're different. We're looking for different things. We're doing different tests. We're putting people in different categories in order to identify who is a right and who is the wrong match for us. So yes, you might not like that sex test, but this is a test that is happening a lot, and men are still going to take advantage of it if they're going to get access to sex, because at the end of the day, you as a woman, you hold the key to give him access to sex. If you don't want to have sex with him, he's not going to have sex with you. It's just not happening. It's impossible, right? Under all legal circumstances, obviously, this will never happen. You are in charge, you're in control, you take the lead, and only you allow that to happen or not. After we talked about the sex test, the next test is the X test. Now, at some point, maybe there will be a conversation that will come up where you talk about exes, former partners, and he's going to pay good attention to this. I'll tell you why. Because depending on how you speak about your ex-partners, he's going to learn not just a lot about you, but also about the man that you were with. If you're bitching and speaking negatively about them and they're such assholes and you cannot trust them and they're narcissists and they're so toxic and whatever. If you're speaking with that type of energy about the man that you were in love with at some point in your life, that you had a committed relationship with, that you were intimate with, and that's the way how you speak about them, and you're exposing all these, sacred moments that you had with them, and there's basically no importance of privacy, then he's gonna ask himself, like, this is how she speaks about your ex. That's not good. For two reasons. One, there's a little bit of a lack of respect towards the man that she was in love with at some point in her life. There's a lack of privacy. So then I'm going to ask myself, well, if she's exposing all of this about her ex, what makes me say that she's not going to do the same thing with us if we're in a relationship or not in a relationship? So that lack of privacy can become a problem. And then on top of it, if she's only speaking negatively about them, then that makes me question, is like, what's her choice of men? How does she choose these men that she's running into such bad, terrible people that she fell in love with? It's also a question that you're going to ask yourself as a man. And these type of reflections are really, really helpful for a man to kind of assess and identify, okay, is this a good woman? Because if she's a good woman, there's also a very high chance that she is going to speak quite highly about her ex. Oh, he was a good man. You never bad-mouthing about him. He treated me well. Yeah, it didn't really work quite out. And yeah, of course, there were some difficulties and some challenges in there. But, that's the past. We kind of solved over this and we kind of like figured out a way to transition in a very smooth, respectful, graceful way. If someone speaks like this about her ex, then that's a very different story, the way how I look at her, than someone who's just constantly negatively bitching and bad-mouthing about their ex-partner. And the last test, the seventh test, the way how men test and assess women, is the family and friends test. This is a pretty straightforward one, actually. Now, obviously, as a man, I'm very curious, what is your relationship like with your family? With your parents, with your brothers and sisters, with your grandparents? Because that shows me a lot, like, what kind of value system do you have? And then I go beyond this, and I want to see, who are your friends? Why are your friends? What do you do with your friends? What's the lifestyle and everything else that you create with them together? Are these friends that are assets if I bring them into my friend circle, or are they a liability? Are these friends that are constantly going out and partying and that's the type of lifestyle that they live? Or are they ones that are like, okay, they're into personal growth, they're really focused on their business, they're doing XYZ, they're quality men and women, there's a lot of respect, there's a lot of care and love between these people? Or is there a lot of gossiping and bitching? There's so many things that can be assessed and looked at in just looking at her friends and family. And I will see, okay, again, what kind of people does she put into her inner circle, which tells me a lot about her values, which tells me a lot about like certain principles that she wants to apply in her romantic partnerships, in her friendship relationships, in her family dynamics, and anything and everything beyond that. So these 7 tests are so essential for a man, and they use them wisely. And if they do, they very quickly get a lot of information about you, and you probably haven't even noticed that he was assessing you. The same way how you're going to assess that man. These are 7 powerful tests, and if you learn to pass them, and if you set up your life in a way that the loyalty and respect and the understanding the way how a man ticks, then that's definitely going to help you to make him more commit to you. If you combine this with having a good lifestyle that aligns with the life that he wants to live, if you combine this with like how you hold yourself, if the intensity is a little bit more under heat, you're going to hold yourself properly, confidently, give back a little bit, or do you become very insecure and shy, or maybe a little bit erratic? The same with the jealousy test, the same with the sex test. How quickly or How long is it going to take for him to really being able to get to that very intimate, sacred space with you? And the exit, how do you speak about your ex? How do you speak about your closest friends and family? What's the dynamic with your ex and your family and friends? All of these things give me so many information about you as a woman to identify, can this be a good match for me? Do we have a lot of things in common and things that align? Or maybe not. So pay attention, figure out how you can use these information to the best of your ability to flip things in your favor, because you're actually passing these tests. And those tests passed means the chance for serious commitment and wanting to move forward is going to increase dramatically for you.